All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second session of HON's virtual NeoCon experience. The session we've got for you this afternoon is all about product. Just a quick housekeeping item here before we get started. We are going to be operating the chat function for any questions, which is available on the right side of the screen. So feel free, if you have any questions throughout, go ahead and throw them in there. Otherwise, we're going to get started and glad to have you all join us here for us today. So over the next hour, you're gonna hear from three members of the HON product management team. We're going to be providing an insider look at HON's product strategy, as well as several sneak peeks into what some of the new products are that are on their way as well. Now, we know that not everyone had a chance to attend this year's NeoCon to get an in close and personal experience of the product. So we are going to try to make up for it throughout this presentation by keeping it very visual and showing some of the detailed imagery of the product throughout. So let's meet your presenters for today. So first up, we have myself. My name is Jeremy Tinkler. I will be covering the seating portion of today's session. Now, not to be biased or anything, but I will maybe just covering some of the your future favorite products within the HON portfolio. And then in the next corner, we have our very own Aaron Snyder, who will be covering or really presenting on what's happening in the private office space. And you may or may not be bouncing off the walls after you see a recent product launch that Aaron will be discussing. And finally, to bring us home, we have our one and only Chad Johnson, who will be speaking on behalf of our open plan and tables categories. You definitely won't feel like you're on an island after hearing some of the new solutions in his categories. So as we jump to the next slide, I think it's very important to reset the audience and reset everyone on where we've been, really before we jump into where we'll be going. Over the past 18 months, the HON new product development teams have been very busy launching more new, more relevant products than we had really in the prior 2 to 3 years combined. And we would have loved to have shown all of you these products in person during last year's NeoCon, as well as even this year's NeoCon, but unfortunately, COVID really had some of the plans of its own. So that's okay, we may do, and we're in front of you today to be able to present some of the great things we've got going on. So with highlighting some of the products that did in fact launch over the last 12 months, just to name a few, Mod Desking is on here, Build Makerspace Tables, Mavinister Seating, and so much more. Several products will in fact be discussed later on in the presentation. So now that you've seen kind of what I'll call our rear view mirror, let's take a look forward. Let's hop right into the front seat here. So throughout the remainder of the presentation, you're going to see three key themes reoccur in each of the product categories. First one, make selling easy. Second, addressing market trends. And third, introducing fresh designs. So first and foremost, we know life is hectic, so it's important that we take into account the entire buying journey so that our customers don't have to stress and don't have to sweat the little stuff, whether that's product selection, installation, assembly, or even user operation. You'll see the products throughout the rest of the hour on the next slides, creating that peace of mind that are allowing customers to know that their needs are being met. Next, we certainly can't forget about the market and how the market's changing. Work from home quickly became a common practice, and as employees, begin to return back to the office, we're going to be returning back to a workplace that's changed. That workplace will need to support users coming into the office perhaps less frequently. They're coming to the office to collaborate. They want to meet with peers, things that they can't do from their home office. And as employees encourage those employees to return to the office, they will now be needing to address comfort even more differently than they ever had before. So, physical comfort, in its traditional sense, will be accompanied by two new dimensions within comfort, sociological comfort as well as psychological comfort. And we'll touch on that a little bit more a couple slides from now. And then finally, let's talk design. Design, simply put, it's taking a much more critical role in the customer's buying behavior than it ever has before. Customers are looking to be inspired by their surroundings, which is done through elevated experience, elevated aesthetics, attention to detail. Products need to take into account those features to be able to stand out in a crowded space. And I think, as you'll notice, the team is very confident in the products that we'll be discussing today and these upcoming product launches that will address that space. So now at this time, we're going to take a slight pivot and we're going to speak to the individual categories. So first up, we have seating. No surprise here. Seating is a category that HON really intends to have a superior presence in the mid-market. It's a space, it's a category that we've had success with in the past, and we're going to continue to make sure that portfolio remains relevant and successful for the future. Many of you most likely did in fact experience some of the efforts that were put into the seating space within the lounge portfolio in 2020 with some of those new product introductions there. And then also noticing some of the 2021 task seating launches, as well as into 2022, there will be a much more rekindled emphasis on our task seating offering. So getting into the framework, you'll notice really the impacts of the trends we spoke to on 2 slides earlier. The first one that I'll hit on here is collaboration. Collaboration is important. It's really the defining piece of why people are returning to the office. Employers are using collaboration to encourage employees to return to the office, mostly because employees they miss that camaraderie. They miss being able to share ideas in person, working and having daily interactions with their peers. And the types of products that are enabling those spaces and those opportunities are more often than not being used in the lounge type applications, activity-based light task seating. Those are just a couple of the products being used to promote more of the safe and productive working sessions. We also briefly touched on comfort in 3 dimensions on a prior slide. The common one, physical comfort. I won't speak too much on that one here today. Think about physical comfort being addressed through seat comfort, ergonomics. But as we think about the remaining 2 dimensions, sociological comfort, this is where we want to get back to our human nature. We want to get back to our social aspirations of being in those group settings, working with the people we know, the faces that we've become familiar with, but doing so in a safe way, doing so through appropriate distancing, space division, and products will need to address those components to be looking in for sociological comfort. And then the 3rd dimension, psychological. So let's face it, we all got comfortable in the confines of our home over the past 12 to 18 months and a little beyond. And now workplaces are going to have to start resembling that residential environment that we all got used to. And this is frequently being accomplished within products within the market space through warm, neutral palettes, mixed materiality. So think like mixes of woods and cold metal, upholsteries, and so forth. And then the remaining 2 trends here are really what enable products to stand out in a crowded space. The market's busy. Let's face it. We know it's busy. We know everyone's busy, and products need to find a way to make life simpler. So just a couple examples. Think about videos and how instruction, assembly, those types of videos can easily show customers how to function and operate their chairs. Or let's take it one step further. What if the chairs had features that were only required for the specific customer applications, and customers didn't have to be overburdened with overcomplicated features within an underutilized setting. So those are just some of the trends that you'll notice and some of the high-level strategy that you'll see as we go through these products on the next several slides. But now I do, in fact, get the pleasure, and I'm very excited to start talking about the new products that we have that were shown in our showroom last week. So up first, we have Click. Click is a simple to use, light task chair solution that is designed specifically in mind for collaboration. Each feature, each function of the Click series has that purpose of encouraging the user to remain focused on the activity on hand without being distracted by the several nuances of highly overfeatured, performance-focused task chairs. We've all been in that meeting. We've all been a part of those meetings where we've got that one user who sits in a conference chair and is finicking with the product while we're trying to have a meaningful discussion. And it's let's be honest, it's a distraction. So Click has the tools and tactics to be able to prevent that from being a distraction within valuable meeting spaces. And then the weight-activated control, one of the important pieces of the Click chair, really just allows users to simply sit down, start the meeting, and they know that throughout the meeting, the chair is just going to simply react to the movements. So on the next slide, you'll see a very straightforward statement of line. The statement of line includes 3 frame colors, 7 mesh colors that you'll see visually represented. But one of the exciting features with Click that I wanted to make sure we touched on today was that conference cylinder option. The conference cylinder option is unique to our portfolio and unique to Click in the sense that it limits the seat height adjustment range, which protects the arms of the chair as well as the table edge from bumping into each other. And that's a frequent use on several of those industry standard work surface heights. So again, one of the exciting things there with Click. On the next slide, our next product on our list for today is all of our recent additions to our most popular seating line, Ignition. Over the years, Ignition has really stood the test of time, but it's been able to do so while remaining agile in an ever-changing market that has allowed Ignition to become one of the most reliable seating options in the market. And with the new additions we've added, we'll be going a little bit detail here in a second. We'd argue that Ignition has become, that fully comprehensive seating family, if not one of the most fully comprehensive seating families in the market that can solve for just about any customer need that comes our way. So let's throw up on the slide here what's new with Ignition. So first one we'll hit on here is that Ignition will now be available in the highly requested designer white frame finish. As companies look to integrate lighter tone colors into their office, customers will now be able to look to Ignition to fulfill that request. In addition, an adjustable headrest will now be available on Ignition, as well as a mesh seat option. As customers really have seeked that breathability, they've had a product that they are familiar with a mesh seat. The mesh seat options have really remained a consistent opportunity in the market over the past several years. And the value with the Ignition mesh seat is that it comes with the reliability of the Ignition portfolio at nearly half the price of several of the other most common solutions in the industry. And lastly, no longer will customers have to look outside of the Ignition portfolio to solve for those big and tall requirements, especially as customers are needing to match that common aesthetic between the big and tall and the standard seating options. So those are just some of the new additions to Ignition that are all available now. So next, we're going to start pivoting to the new products launching next year. We've got several new products launching next year, and the first one on our list here is a product that received several rave reviews during NeoCon last week. So early Q1 next year, we'll be introducing a conference chair family that is specifically dedicated to those formal conference room and private office applications. So having a family dedicated with the appropriate features and functions that enable productive conferencing settings. Designed by Brian Kane, Kofi really now is that answer to customers that are looking to make a great first impression, whether that's a first impression on visiting clients, incoming prospective candidates, or potential board meetings. Kofi's going to enable companies to put their best foot forward with the attention to detail and offering that Kofi has. So as we jump to the overview slide, you'll see a fantastic representation of the statement of line, all in one image, including an executive and managerial back height option, both the polished aluminum and standard arm base combinations, as well as 3 different pattern styles for the back, which includes a standard plain back you'll notice on the left-hand side of the screen, channel stitching, which is one of the most common for those high-profile conference settings, and then lastly, a quilted back design, which is visualized there on the managerial chair on the right side of the screen. But wait, there's a little bit more. So if we jump to the next slide, we spoke earlier on the importance of attention to detail and what that means to that sociological comfort. Some of the key items I will highlight here as we think through attention to detail. First one, there's the optional contrast top stitching colors. There'll be 9 contrasting stitch colors that enable a customer to provide a little bit of a pop or a little bit of an accent color on their premium conference chair solution. In addition, multi-fabric will now be available within the standard offering of Kofi. So customers won't have to worry about a specials or tailored solutions process in order to be able to get a different upholstery on the back versus the seat to provide that coordinated look. And as you can see here, we, throughout the development, we really didn't cut any corners with developing Kofi, and wanted to ensure that when Kofi launched to the market, it was going to have that pristine look, the pristine solution for today's modern conference rooms. So another task seating line we have launching next year is a recharge on a fan favorite. So as many would say, over the years, Nucleus, the name Nucleus, has become almost synonymous with comfort. It's a tried and true product. We hear time in and time again about one of the fan favorites in the market. Even if you survey several of our internal HON members, they would easily say that hands down, Nucleus is one of their favorite chairs based on comfort. So it was overdue that this was a product that we needed to take a look at refreshing for modern times. So with all that said, I want to pause here briefly, and at this time, I want to do something a little bit differently. I'd like to encourage really any of you listening here to go in and type in the chat function. Tell us a little bit about your experiences with Nucleus in the past. Have you had experiences with Nucleus in the past? Tell us a little bit about it. Was it a good experience? What did you like about it? What worked? And you know what? If you haven't experienced Nucleus before, haven't had an opportunity with Nucleus, that's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and tell us about that too. Maybe why you haven't experienced it, and we can work on making sure that you have the opportunity going forward to experience Nucleus and experience the comfort that Nucleus has to offer. So while any of you are going ahead and typing in anything about Nucleus, I'll keep going here in the presentation. Really, just the details here with Nucleus that are worth noting here is that it will continue to feature that same comfort. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. So that comfort will remain the same going forward, but at a better customer price, as well as with more customer choice. So the next slide will show a couple other additions within Nucleus. So some of what's new, Nucleus will now feature an on-trend back design that you can see in some of the imagery here, as well as the highly requested adjustable lumbar option. This was one of those options that we heard most frequently as an area that Nucleus lacked in the past. Going forward, you will have that option of selecting an adjustable lumbar. 3 frame finishes, black, titanium, and designer white, will be available, as well as additional control functionality to ensure that any customer can sit comfortably in a Nucleus chair. So second to last slide I've got for everyone here today includes a base expansion on our popular Flock guest chair. Most notable addition within this line is the addition of that wood leg option, which is available in all heights. Earlier, when speaking to the sociological comfort, we spoke about warmth in the office, mixed materials, integration of wood within the office. So going forward, Flock Guest will have the ability and option to resemble that residential space and have a solution to meet that customer need. And then the last slide I have for everyone today is really just a quick reminder of some of our notable fan favorites in the lounge space from last year. So the 3 lounge products introduced last year include West Hill, which is a soft, relaxed lounge collection. Astur, a flexible, activity-based collaborative family. And then Mav, that single-piece lounge offering that really creates that modern design with welcoming and collaborative sections. All right, everyone. So that is, in fact, the last slide I had, and seating has come to an end. I do hope you're all very excited about what was shown today. I can ensure you that the brand is very excited. HON is excited to bring these products to market and provide these necessary designs in the new space. So without further ado, I will pass the torch on to Aaron Snyder. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Thanks, Jeremy. We'll keep moving here with Casegoods. So I'm going to take us on a little bit of a journey through kind of the HON private office and how we're really looking at reimagining some of the solutions we have in our offering. And I'll also walk through some insights on the next slide that really kind of showcase where we're looking at the market and how we're looking to address the market. So when you think about Casegoods, you'll think about our fan favorites of Consinity, Boy, 10500 series that's been around for decades and has continued to evolve. And then recently introduced the mod desking line that's a fan favorite at more of the lower price point that was launched later last year. So you can really see, on the left-hand slide here, we're really trying to identify the market and the spaces that we need to address within the Casegood offering to provide kind of good, better, and best selling opportunities. When you think about what you can do in our offering with starting at mod for those value conscious customers that really want kind of great kind of laminate product, but at great value for the private office setting, all the way up to like a Consinity where we have many, many options and functionality in terms of dimensions, as well as pull styles, finish offering, edge band styles to allow a little bit more of that customization in the private office. And really over the next couple of years, you'll see us to continue to invest in these. I can say those kind of core 4 series that we have at HON, we have invested in them in the last 24 months, or we have plans to invest in them in the next 12. So over a good 2 to 3 year period, we continue to evolve kind of some of our fan favorites at the HON company. And on the right side, you'll see us really addressing kind of key trends in our market. You think about the shrinking footprint of the office and what that provides us to design furniture around. People are wanting lighter scale, more open storage, more airy, what I'll call leg optionality to create a little bit more of that open office. And they're much more pilers versus filers. We still a lot of the big storage towers that allow for kind of, coats, bags, bookcase shelves, filing drawers, but we're seeing the office kind of drive a little bit of that lighter footprint to address the workspace a little differently. We're also seeing increased personalization. I think some of this comes from the post-COVID kind of wants and needs of all of us maybe having the privilege of working in our home office in in our own space that's customized to us that we selected. And so personalization continues to be a want and need. And I'm going to focus a lot of the presentation today around how we're addressing some of that personalization. And then height adjustability. It's no longer just a kind of higher end look, feel, and desire from customers. We're seeing this across our entire portfolio in Casegoods as well as in open plan of people desiring height adjustable tables, specifically in private office. How do we integrate those within the case design so it doesn't just look like a height adjustable table with a kind of storage surrounding it? It really kind of is integrated in the space, is purposeful in design, and we'll talk a little bit about what we've done with 10.5 a little later. And next, I'm excited to introduce our big launch for mid-year here that was showcased throughout NeoCon, and we're calling it WorkWall. And this is really where we're shaking up the box a little bit and saying, how do we create fresh designs with a relevant product offering? And WorkWall is that. It launched in July of 2021, so this summer, and was all throughout our NeoCon space. So if you're tuning in tomorrow for the live demonstration, you will see this. It was nominated for a HIP Interior Design Award in the accessorization category for furniture. So we're really proud that we had that opportunity at the HON company to participate in that. And really, the intent here is to create a flexible wall solution to support really any application. So you think about this being a little bit more of a chameleon product, where a lot of the work walls out there in the marketplace are designed specifically for certain case designs. We've really made this independent, so you can put this in the open plan. You can put it with all of our laminate private office offerings in our offering. You can put it in conference spaces, whether that's tethered into preside or more in the floating kind of open plan environment. So really what this is we've really found a way to use different materials and finishes that provide different use cases for the wall application that complement a user either sitting at a desk or a conference solution next to it. So we've offered things like tiles being in fabric. We introduced 5 different back painted glass offerings, 1 on the kind of white hue, and then 2 on the gray hue and 2 on the brown hue scale to allow for that little bit further functionality and exciting kind of glass offering to support kind of the private office design. We've incorporated laminate on the wall, whether that's supporting a shelf or a media tile that allows you to frame in a TV with tiles to look purposeful and intentional within the space. We've also introduced some paint pops here with our slotted tool rail, as well as a painted metal tile for magnetic purposes for a user to pin up, their favorite family photo or their work for tomorrow. And then we've also designed some accessories through IDA design firm, who has done some HON work for us in the past, to create kind of functional accessories that are purposeful in use. Things like my favorite being a cup holder for my Yeti. Once I'm done drinking my coffee, a place to put it before I leave for the day. And then a lot of people like our technology shelf, a place to set your phone up off the desk or up off the storage and charge for an afternoon time period. We've also introduced some floating accessories with a shelf, as well as a single tool rail that can hang those metal accessories I talked about. On the next slide, you'll see us really kind of look at applications a little differently from our offering. And you think about how we're addressing spaces. I talked about this, but we're thinking about I and we space a little differently. So you think about that I space, that individual environment. It's your traditional command central for mid-level to executive level leaders in the I space environment, or even out in the more what I'll call shared environment with someone having an I space desk, but maybe sharing in that Casegood offering, as you can see there on the bottom left. And we're also spanning all the way up to unique applications with printer stations, conference areas, or common areas. You can see there in the top right, kind of a floating area more for somebody to show their brand in their office in a conference room setting, or in that bottom right, kind of think of this as an area in the office where you need high-level storage, but want to have a functional wall around it. The next slide, this is pictures from our NeoCon space that we took, and you can see there on the left, added personalization. So those 7 new accessories, a few of them are shown there. You can see the file kind of hanging holder there for Pendaflex. You can see a bin to hold markers for your back painted glass, which is writable. and then the cup to hold, whether that be markers, a plant, or a cup, for example. And then at right, this really shows us all the different materials that I spoke about, and how you can layer in the accessories over that. And again, just showing that back painted glass in a way that is a marker board, is magnetic, and again allows for color by us painting the back offering. And then lastly, I'm going to switch gears here and cover a little bit of how we've enhanced the 10500 series. This is our workhorse within the private office. It's been one of the best sellers in our market, in our industry, and at HON for many, many years. And this is not your kind of 1995 10500 series. Although the name remains the same, we continue to evolve and update. You can see additions with light scale where we brought out an H leg, or some open kind of bookcase end caps to allow for people to display, books, family photos, or even kind of binder storage in a different application. I talked about height adjustability earlier. Again, users wanting height adjustability in the private office. We're encasing kind of the height adjustable table in a shroud and a low credenza application, so it looks much more integrated than what we have in the offering without a head application. And then again, new storage offerings where you can see on that right where we're including more of that kind of pile or shelf application, or even kind of layered credenza application for more of that kind of piler, that work in process that employees have, where they need to kind of stack stuff for the day and have quick access when they get back in the morning. So again, my presentation here is really around how WorkWall allows us to kind of transform a bunch of different spaces and support products that you guys have been selling and our customers have been buying for many years. And then again, this 10500 series evolving kind of our best seller. So with that, this includes my portion. I'm going to turn it over to Chad Johnson to walk through a couple other product offerings. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Aaron. So again, welcome everybody, and glad you could join us. I'm going to walk you through, first I'll start with open plan, and then I'll take us through tables. So obviously open plan and COVID has everybody kind of scratching their heads on where we're going. So as we think about trends within the space, we're really starting to address what we're seeing out there. Not all of these are coming to life in the products that we'll see, but no, everybody's behind the scenes working to address exactly what we're seeing and what we're hearing. But within kind of that open plan environment, a lot of visual and acoustical privacy. For anybody who's been back in the office and seen how those spaces work, we see a lot more virtual meetings, and how do we accommodate what that means if somebody's sitting at their desk in an open plan environment, talking out loud on a phone, or even sitting there with their earbuds in, but having that conversation probably in a different fashion than they'd had before. And how are we able to compartmentalize that and allow their coworkers that are within the space around them to kind of behave as normal? So again, that's something that's real. We all need to address it. If you sat by me or Aaron Snyder by any chance within an office space, you'd know exactly what I mean, because I think both of us have a voice that rises a little bit more when we get excited talking about the products that we have and continue to bounce around into space, and how do we kind of control that. The expectations around this open plan and what it means and collaboration is a lot more fluid than what it ever has been. I think Jeremy touched on collaboration and what that meant as people are coming back, and that's one of the main drivers of why people are returning to the office. If it was, hey, I'm heads down, not needing to interact with coworkers or not have those conversations or not brainstorm or not kind of work together, they might be able to stay at home. But that's not realistic for, I think, the way people work and the way people thrive within their workspace. And so it's, again, how do we create these spaces within an office environment that allow that fluidity to happen within that environment? So how do we allow them to change tables, configurations, the way that they sit and how they sit, and let the space evolve to their needs? And it's not just, hey, it's a space for one type of use, but it's a space for multiple uses depending on the day and what that means. Power and technology has to be easy at hand. So again, I think we all have seen this in our day-to-day interactions. We're using technology to a greater extent, given kind of not only the pace of how it's come and evolve, but as a reaction to COVID. I don't think we've all had virtual meetings before, but I don't think they were the norm. Anymore, there's always somebody that's participating virtually in some way, shape, or form. Plus, we've all got our cell phones, our laptops, and multiple other devices that we have easily at hand. How do we allow easy powering, easy connection, easy use, and how is that facilitated through our furniture? So it's not only a factor of how do I give you the access to do it, but how do I conceal it and make it in a way that's appealing, yet easy to use and not really complicated and overburdened. And then again, I think Jeremy touched on this one as well. So again, that residential feel has definitely accelerated. Softer tones, softer materials, softer textures are all making their way into the office space. Mixing glass, mixing metal, mixing wood, laminate. So again, a combination of materials and what that is. And then we also look at these fabric alternatives. So I think we've all started to see and continue to see that rise of PET within an office space and all the benefits that it gives, not only from a visual side and the soft nature, but also from the acoustical properties that it can bring into the space. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about storage islands, which is an exciting product that came out last year. But really what it is, it's all about collaboration within a space and how do we integrate storage within those use zones. So it's a combination of end panels, tops, legs that integrate with our storage portfolio in terms of contain as well as flagship storage. So again, you can use it with lockers, you can use it with lateral files, you can use it with wardrobes as well. So here we see it with a couple of lower wardrobes, but then it extends the space. So again, while we know that storage is really important within an office space, how do we not just make it kind of a one-sided kind of application where all I can do is store? Make it a workable space within those environments that can provide not only separation for areas where somebody wants to have a seated area behind them, but it becomes a work zone for a team. So again, it's going to be supporting the teams that are near it and allowing them to function and execute at a higher level. And it can store personal items, it can store meeting items. It's a highly functional item. It's available in a wide variety of sizes and shapes and lengths. It really also appropriately handles kind of the amount of work that's going to be needed within that space. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about accelerated enhancements. So again, Accelerate, great line for us, super excited about what it means inside of our portfolio. We're introducing gallery panels at the end of this year. We've had them on Abound. Now we're bringing them over into our Accelerate product, and we're super excited about the aesthetic that it can bring. So again, you can get those as a laminate offering with and without floating glass at the top. Really provides a great aesthetic and a balance within the fabric and your traditional look within the seating product or within the systems product. So we're really excited about it offering. And then we've got variable height frameless glass on Accelerated as well. This one's currently available. So again, as we all think about COVID and the screens and the needs that are playing within that space, this allows us some more functionality and fluidity within our spaces to create the environment that somebody wants to have. They're still going to create those low profile sight lines through an office space, but provide a little bit more of that. I'd say it's that psychological privacy that people are looking for as they return back into their office space. Our next one is going to be some storage enhancements that we've added. Again, storage continues to be really important, and I think we've all touched on the personalization that's needed within it. So again, as we think about where the market's moving towards, we're adding digi-locks to our contained pedestals. So again, a great adaptation. We've had them on our Fuse portfolio. It's something that we know the market's looking for. It's a great way to really have a touch-free, kind of touchless environment using the RFID codes, but you can also use it for hoteling, lockering, different ways that you can create storage and allow adaptability within a workspace and zone. We're also introducing contained two-tone. So again, a lot of that personalization the customers are looking for is going to be offered in our contained portfolio. So you can match or you can mix and match paint colors for door fronts as well as the case and really create a unique space and personalized look within a corporation or a business environment. Gives a whole lot of flexibility that comes through and some really unique combinations that are going to be able to put forward. Part of that work in terms of the contained two-tone has also led us to changing the logic within our contained pedestals. We've added and inserted into that dot option string the ability to select your door fronts as well as your case colors. So we've really streamlined that process. It also aligns with the entire contained portfolio. So when we introduced our lockers, towers, wardrobes, and credenzas about 6 to 8 months ago, we changed our model logic, making it a little more functional and usable. This follows up with our contained pedestals. Still all the same options that are available, but it's easier to specify and easier to get the paint options the way that you're looking for them to have. So again, that'll be coming at the end of this year as well. Keep your eyes out for the email on both of those enhancements. Acoustics, we introduced PPE Screens. So these are available as of July, and we were really excited about this as an offering. Really relevant in terms of the timing, in terms of the COVID, but a lot of applications as we've seen this movement and momentum into these height adjustable tables and more functionality. It's great, again, until you sit next to a loud neighbor or somebody who's encroaching within your space. How do we create and divide those areas? PET is a great material for us to be able to do that. So our PET screens are available in 4 different colors, all PET materials, and available to be used on our coordinated height adjustable tables. We also have them for our empowered. We've got the screens for our empowered benching platforms, as well as gravitation beam. We've got a screen that runs down the center of it, and again, heightens that visual separation that's provided within that space. It's a great balance and a great offering within our open plan portfolio. We're really excited about what that is and the benefits that it can bring kind of holistically across an open plan and environment. I'll pause and take a breath, but we'll switch into our tables category next, which again, we're really excited about when we think about what this is.
Hey team, we're going to take a brief second here. Chad lost connection where he's at, so he's going to hop back on. So apologies, we'll take a brief break here. And in order to keep us moving, I'm gonna keep us moving here. And when Chad hops back on, he'll kind of join in. So again, across the categories here at HON, we're very familiar with what we're doing within each category. So I'll walk through tables. So when you think about kind of how we're addressing kind of the market, you'll see very similar themes than what Jeremy and I and Chad talked about on kind of the previous areas, where it's really around kind of this collaboration and connection. You know, employees, as they have been in the hybrid kind of work environment, either working from home or coming back in office full time, you know, when they're here, they want to collaborate because, you know, when they're doing heads down work, they have at the touch of a button, like all of us today, can hop on digitally to have that kind of engagement throughout meetings and throughout their day. So when they are in a physical space, they're striving for that kind of collaboration. And we're seeing really momentum in some of these different areas. And some of that's driven by us addressing kind of the soft seating products within those different spaces, but also just employees wanting to use space differently, and you know, building design going more towards those indexed higher on we space environments versus the traditional I space environments. Mobility and light scale continue to be important. I talked about the virtual meetings. So again, it's how do you make that equity the same depending on where you're at. Are you at home? Are you engaging with people back in the office? Therefore, how does someone back in the office in the conference space engage you digitally? So that technology support throughout the meeting space and throughout that environment. And then again, all those warm tones we talked about, creating that kind of residential, residential feel within the office through all the different mixed materials. So introducing Scramble premium tops. This was a big hit at NeoCon last week, along with Kofi and Workwall. This was one of the ones we kept hearing from customers and our trade partners as they came in the showroom. So with Scramble, we'll now have etched white back-painted glass tops. We'll have a knife edge option, and we have 3 new stain options with warm white mist and peppercorn. And then those edge options that I talked about, you can see flat, the glass I talked about, and the knife. So creating kind of different aesthetics and styles within the same series.